I don't know about you, but I sure needed that extra hour of sleep. I'm Charlie Sykes. Sunday Insight starts right now. Good morning and welcome to Sunday Insight. In the week that was, it's the home stretch. Believe it or not, the 2016 campaign is almost over and the country is still here. The Cubs break a 108-year drought and win the World Series in a seventh-game thriller. But like so much of this year, we have to start with the election and the latest polls. A race that had looked like it would be a walk for Hillary Clinton has tightened up dramatically. And here in Wisconsin, the most recent, the last Marquette University law poll shows a dead-even race for the U.S. Senate in the race between Ron Johnson and Russ Feingold. And at the top of the ticket, the Marquette University law poll found Hillary Clinton holding on to a 6-point lead in the Badger State, 46% to 40%. Well, the last-minute announcement of a renewed FBI probe seems to have hurt Clinton. The effects were only modest. Clinton is winning in Milwaukee and Madison, while Trump is winning the Green Bay media market and much of the outstate vote. In the crucial Milwaukee suburbs, though, the two candidates are dead even at 41% to 41%. The poll also found a big gender gap. Trump is winning men by 6 points, 46 to 40, while Hillary Clinton is carrying women by 16 points, 50 to 34. In the Senate race, Democrat Russ Feingold has seen his double-digit lead evaporate. As recently as August, Feingold led Johnson by 11 points, but last week's poll showed the race on the razor's edge. Feingold 45, Johnson 44. Independent voters who had backed Feingold have now flipped, favoring Johnson now by a margin of 46% to 40%. Joining me on our panel this morning, the Milwaukee Community Journal's Michael Hope, former State Representative Michelle Litchens, Defense Attorney Dan Adams, and Research Fellow at the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, Colin Roth. So, give me your take on this poll, including the rather odd result that Ron Johnson is running substantially ahead of Donald Trump.
Yeah, I think we've seen that actually throughout the last few months in the polling, and I think Ron Johnson's run a really, really good campaign in the last 2 to 3 weeks. His ads, I think, are very good. He's got the Obamacare issue, and he's highlighting a lot of his accomplishments. Something that struck out to me, though, was that independence number, that in early October, Russ Feingold was winning independents by about 7. In this one, Ron Johnson is winning them by 6. I think that's a very, very significant number.
It's also interesting that Johnson is running ahead of Trump with Republicans, with women, and in the Milwaukee suburbs. Can Donald Trump win Wisconsin if he does not get a big margin in the so-called wild counties?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, he needs to be pulling in 65+%.
Well, what struck you about this report?
The most surprising thing about this Marquette poll is how unsurprising it was. I mean, if you went back 6 months and said, what is the results of the most near to the election poll going to be? I mean, all of us would say it's about 50-50, especially for the Feingold-Johnson race. And true to form, we're a purple state and we're right there.
Michelle, you crunch these numbers.
I was very, very surprised to see that earlier in the poll, 73% of the Republicans were supporting Donald Trump. But after the news came out about Hillary Clinton's emails, 87% of Republicans
So that news brought Republicans home.
And I think most people have assumed that although most Republicans are not enthusiastically supporting Donald Trump, a lot of them are going to start coming home when it comes to Election Day.
Okay, but there was another number that at least jumped out at me, was there's a gender gap within Republicans that was only, 73%?
About 1 in 4 women are not, Republican women are not supporting.
About 1 in 4 Republican women are not. Now, Hillary Clinton has supportive Democratic men, Democratic women, but he's still got a ways to go with that.
I know a number of those Republican women, you run into them constantly. Those women are not going to cross over and vote for Hillary Clinton, but we're not sure if they're going to support Donald Trump Tuesday.
Michael?
You know, it would have been interesting if they would have asked one more question. Of the support for Trump, was it actually for Donald Trump, or was it a vote against Hillary?
Well, I think that's true on both sides, isn't it? I mean, this is a campaign that seems less about who you're enthusiastic for and more about who repulses you less. Right.
Well, yeah, that's correct. But, you know, when you're talking about that, because I was stunned a little bit to find out what 73% of Republican women support Donald Trump. I thought that number was kind of high. How could a woman in 2016 give her support to Donald Trump.
See,
that's amazing to me.
But I think the key dynamic here is remember that 4 years ago, well, I mean, 8 years ago, Barack Obama won Wisconsin by 14 points and 400,000 votes. 4 years ago, he wins Wisconsin by 7 points and 200,000 votes. And during the last election, though, Mitt Romney got 68% of the vote in the WOW counties, Waukesha, Ozaukee, Washington County, and still, again, he got 68% and still fell short by 200,000 votes. So the question is, if Donald Trump does not do extremely well down here, it's kind of hard to come up with the math. Now, I'll tell you a number that jumped out at me from this poll, Michael Holt. They polled African Americans. They found that Ron Johnson's getting 11% of the black vote. They couldn't find a single, not one black supporter of Donald Trump. Absolutely zero.
That's not surprising.
Apparently, David Clark was out of town again.
That's true. But you know what's really been interesting is that the Johnson people, led by Orlando Owens, who's his African American Affairs Director or whatever, have been campaigning in the black community strongly, taking out ads, billboards, and what they've been pushing is that Joseph Project. And jobs resonate to black folks. We got a 56% black male unemployment rate. So his posters say, you know, regardless of what the Democrats have told you, we are creating jobs, and here's evidence. And I think that's swaying some folks.
Okay, we're going to make some predictions coming up when we come back. What has your glass half full? What has your glass half empty? Let's go around the table. Michael Holt, you are first again.
Well, my glass is half full because our Constitution allows the UW student who wore a mask of President Obama with a noose around his neck during last week's Badger game. It gave them the right to express himself. My glass is half empty because no one sitting near the bigot saw fit to unmask him or to untie the noose and use it to spank his racist.
My glass is half full because the election is Tuesday. It's half empty because I fear the election might not be over Tuesday.
Dan Adams.
Well, my glass is half full because the city of West Allis is going to get some national attention today. If you haven't been to West Allis lately, you're missing out. Great things are happening. Leaders there have been working hard, and it shows. My glass is half empty because the attention comes from today's Trump rally. Here's an idea. Skip the rally and check out the West Allis Farmers Market on 65th and National. Much nicer people to hang around.
Colin Roth.
My glass is half full because after Election Day, the opportunity for positive conservative reform here in Wisconsin will still be ripe. It's half empty because after Election Day, the opportunity for positive conservative reform at the national level is likely diminished for some time.
Well, there's a theme here. My glass is half full because the election is almost over. It's half empty because our political divisions are not going anywhere. The ugliness does not end on Wednesday. It can get worse. Our Sunday Insight Countdown shows we are just 2 days away from the presidential election. The lame duck session of Congress begins in just 8 days. And either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton will take the oath of office in 75 days. We will be right back. Well, the presidential race will be decided Tuesday, we hope. Just no hanging chads from Florida. And the key number to watch is 270. That's the number of electoral votes it will take to elect the next president. That means the race will be decided in a handful of battleground states, including Wisconsin, which has 10 electoral votes. The race could come down to states like Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Nevada, maybe even Utah. So let's start with you, Dan Adams. What is the state of play 2 days out?
Well, I think Hillary is going to walk away with this. I think she's going to do better than forecasted in Wisconsin. I think she'll get 50% to around 46% for Trump. I think she'll get 322 electorals. And 214 for Trump.
Okay, so you're
I'm very optimistic. The Democrats have this awesome get out the vote, especially early vote machine.
Well, then how do you explain the tightening polls and the fact that on Friday CNN dropped her below 270 in its projections?
I think they are underestimating the early votes that have already been cast in places like Florida, New Hampshire, Nevada, especially.
Okay, I'm going to write this down because we got to check this afterwards. Okay, so Dan Adams is at 322. Hillary, what do you think? What are you seeing in the presidential race?
I definitely see Hillary Clinton walking away with this. I do. I don't think her percentages are going to be that large across the country, but she's going to have quite a few electoral votes. I do think, though, election night, when we watch the returns come in, if he doesn't win Florida, there's no chance. If he doesn't win Ohio, there's no chance. So I think we'll kind of see that it's over early.
Oh, I think North Carolina is the one that I'm going to see. But what about Wisconsin?
Oh, he's not going to win Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Yeah, Hillary Clinton's going to win Wisconsin.
Okay. Michael Holt.
I think it's going to be a lot closer. And I'm going to make this bold prediction right now.
Okay.
Don't write this down.
Okay, I'm writing it down.
Evan McMillan is going to win.
Yeah.
Utah, and that's going to throw everything in a tizzy.
Well, he's actually been, that's not impossible, by the way, that the independent conservative candidate, Evan McMullen, could win there. But, okay, who's going to win the Electoral College?
Oh, it's going to be Hillary. But it's going to be a lot closer than what Dan predicts, a little bit more than what Michelle is saying.
Yeah.
I think
Did we get a number
Hillary's
from
going to
Michelle?
sneak through there.
286. 254.
What, 286?
Yeah.
That's actually pretty conservative. Okay.
Yeah, I
So-
think like 290.
Okay, what are you thinking?
Yeah, mine's right around 300
okay.
for Hillary Clinton, and I think just as what we've seen in the past, I think the Democrats have probably a superior get out the vote operation. I think that's going to account for some of her drag in the polls, and I also think, typically a lot of these toss-up battleground states all kind of fall one way or another.
Right.
I think that's probably going to happen in her favor.
Yeah, it's hard to predict because the polls have been all over the place. I expect that she's probably going to win by 3 to 4 percentage points, with around 296 electoral votes. But I could be wrong. On election night, this thing could be over. For example, if she wins in North Carolina, then Donald Trump's path to 270
If she wins
becomes
early.
If she then this race is basically, we'll know by 9:20 who's going to win, because his path to 270 is extremely difficult. But you made an important point that in the end, at the end of a campaign like this, the ground game matters. The digital campaigns matter. They can't win you or lose you an election. But as one political operative told me, if you're within a field goal, that's going to be enough. And a lot of people look back at the 2012 election and remember that we all thought it was dead even, and Barack Obama won easily. And I think probably his superior ground game, his superior digital campaign probably was worth 2 or 3 percentage points. My sense has been that she was hurt by that FBI story. I think that took a lot of momentum away, but I think it's settled down. And I'm not sure that the polls necessarily, have I don't think they move quite as much as you would think. On the other hand, we are taping this on Friday, and given the way this campaign has gone, there could be another bombshell. Who knows? Now, you may not want to hear it, but we'll tell you anyway. Let's hand out some unsolicited advice. Michael Holt, you are first.
Well, MPS is introducing a series of reform initiatives with potential for turning around some failing schools. But the ideal of being the sole grantor of charters is not one of them. I suggest dropping that self-serving plan immediately.
Michelle Litchins.
To the NFL, shape up. Your games are too long, and they have too many commercials, and your players are too independent, and it's hard to cheer for a team of individuals. So make some changes before soccer takes over as our national pastime.
Yeah, that could happen.
Well,
Dan Adams.
For Sheriff David Clark, as the recent inmate deaths, the outsourced health services debacle, and your frivolous and expensive lawsuits against your own county, and your general lack of attendance at the office show, perhaps it's time to quit your day job. That's being sheriff.
Colin Roth.
My advice is, after Election Day, let's do our best to see those who disagree with us as neighbors and countrymen, not enemies with evil motives.
Well, my advice is to voters, you can split your ballot. Do not give the next president, whoever it is, a blank check. Voters will also decide who the next president will work with in the House and the Senate. We'll talk about that and make some predictions when Sunday Insight continues. In addition to picking a new president, voters will also decide who controls the United States Senate, the House of Representatives, and here in Wisconsin, the 2 houses of the state legislature. So let's make some non-presidential predictions. Let's start with the U.S. Senate seat. Big surprise of the year, this Johnson-Feingold race. You know that it is tight because this incredible flood of money, last-minute money. And I'm guessing you cannot turn on the television today
or the radio
tomorrow without seeing some sort of an ad. So give me some sense. You're a close friend of Ron Johnson's, going back to the old days. What do you think is going to happen?
I actually believe he has a chance to win. I want to believe he's going to pull this off. The fact that Feingold's never gotten himself above 50% still means he's got a chance out there because he is reintroducing himself to voters. A lot of them think that he's the new candidate up there. So he has a chance to win it. I still think the Senate is going to come back at 51, even if we lose Ron Johnson here in Wisconsin.
The
U.S. Senate.
What do you think?
Well, I think Feingold's going to edge it out. I mean, I was criticized about 18 months ago for coming after Feingold, pointing out his weaknesses, 18 years of incumbency to attack, and being a very conventional politician. And Ron Johnson, to his credit, has been able to label him with those incumbent disadvantages. That being said, it's a presidential year. turnout's going to be pretty good, and I think Feingold gets 50%.
You know what I find absolutely fascinating is the way that Feingold, who used to be known for his funny and clever creative ads, has run a really pedestrian, lame campaign, whereas I do think that Ron Johnson has some really good stuff up there. I mean, he has really gotten, there's no question about it, that he has clawed his way back. He's reintroduced himself. He's humanized himself. I think that ad where he's sitting, in front of the fireplace is, actually appealing for common values, is, maybe not toxic. But I guess I'm going to come down kind of, I want to say, given the momentum that Johnson could pull this up, it would be the biggest upset in Wisconsin political history. But you have to go back to this history. Not since 1980 has a Republican U.S. Senate candidate won in a presidential election year because of the nature of the electorate. We can elect people during the off-year elections, but it's going to be very tough. However, all of the conventional rules have been thrown out the window. I think it's going to be much closer than anybody imagined a few months ago. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. My head says it's very, very difficult, but my heart says, you know what, he's run a really good campaign. Yeah. And I agree with you on his ads, talking about the heroin issue, talking about the Joseph Project. These are things that resonate with people. This shows a senator who has accomplishments in his first term. He's not just a guy who goes there and blocks everything Obama's done, but he's been on the forefront of issues that people care about.
Okay, who's going to win?
I think Russ Feingold's going to win.
He's doing, what about control of the U.S. Senate?
I think it's, again, going back to how these states kind of all fall one way or another, my hunch is that the Democrats are going to take control.
See, I think the Republicans might hold on. I think they might have a 51-49, mainly because of this last-minute Trump surge, weakness on the part of Hillary. Okay, what do you think, the U.S. Senate locally and nation?
This is, I think, really going to be very, very close. Yeah. Very close. I think that Feingold, though, will sneak through on this. I do think the Senate's going to flip. I think, the Ohio race in particular, former governor was Strickland. He pulls it off. It's definitely
that is definitely not going to happen. Yeah. Well, there is no way they pick up the seat.
Hillary's putting a lot of money in the 11th hour.
I will say that one of the real wild cards here that might put Ron Johnson over the top is the fact that both of these candidates are at the top of the ticket are so unpopular that you might have people consciously splitting their ballots and saying, okay, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton, but I do not want to give her that blank check. I really want to have divided government. We will see
and
this.
And if that Marquette poll is
correct,
the
Marquette poll suggests
with 11% of the black vote going to
House of Representatives, I think it looks very likely that the Republicans will maintain control. Does Paul Ryan stay in the speakership?
Yes, he will, but I don't think for long. And by that time frame, I mean like a year or two, because I think he's going to be under the same pressures that John Boehner was, and I think none of those internal divisions are going away.
I tend to agree with that. Anybody here think that Republicans will not keep control of the state legislature?
They are, but they're going to lose the Green Lake Luther Olson seat. That's District 14 to Waupaca Mayor Brian Smith.
Okay, you agree or disagree?
I think there's a chance they're going to lose either Luther's seat or Dan Fine up in the 18th. Although the Fox Valley is conservative, I mean, we really should be able to sneak through with that one.
Yeah, I think the Republicans will lose 1 or 2 seats in the Senate. They'll maintain control, and the Assembly is not an issue. Right. So what is it you don't get? Let's go around the table. Michael Holt, you are first.
What I don't get is how people who don't vote think they aren't influencing the outcome of the elections. Look, a non-vote is a vote for the winner. Like them or not.
Michelle Litchins.
Charlie, I don't get how 5 different foreign intelligence agencies could have tapped into Hillary Clinton's email server. How does Hillary care about our country's security at all?
Dan Adams.
How is Friday the first National Love Your Lawyer Day and I didn't get a single flower bouquet, card, or edible arrangement?
Michelle will give you a kiss after the show.
Colin Roth.
What I don't get is how Republicans thought they could win a national election while nominating an individual viewed as repellent to every emerging voting group.
What I don't get is how and why so many Americans, probably a majority, have decided that when it comes to electing the President of the United States, that character no longer matters. Think about that. Next on Sunday Insight, our panel picks the winners and losers of the week, but first, here's your morning news update. It's time for our panel to pick the winners and losers of the week. Michael Holt, you're first.
Well, by this time next week, Hillary Clinton will be the first female president-elect. The losers are minority groups, who I predict, including me, will suffer from the backlash of racist Trump supporters who will lose their platform.
Michelle Litchins.
The winner is Pope Francis. He instructed countries to not take more migrants than they can assimilate, and he also instructed the migrants to assimilate, otherwise they would isolate themselves in ghettos, and he is 100% correct. The loser, unfortunately, is all of us. In a few days, we'll have a new president, and no matter who wins, they will not be able to unite this country, and the anger and the madness will likely continue.
Dan Adams.
My winner is MPS Superintendent Darian Driver, who released a handful of proposals this week, including mandating district-wide school uniforms. This is a good idea. My loser is also Darian Driver because one of her other proposals calls to make MPS the only charter school authorizer for Milwaukee. This policy would have to come from the state, not MPS, so it's clear it's nothing more than a political dog biscuit thrown to Milwaukee's yapping teachers union.
Calling it off.
My winner this week is Senator Ron Johnson and his team. Win or lose, he's run a really good campaign, focused on his record of accomplishment, and he's closed the gap against incredible headwinds. My loser is the American people. This election has been a nightmare, but unfortunately our elections are a reflection of us. It's time to take a deep breath and look in the mirror.
Yeah, well, my winners, well, I have to say it, the Cubs. After 108 years, the streak ends in the most dramatic possible way. My loser, there's a theme here, our political system. Whoever wins on Tuesday, our politics, has been degraded, demeaned, and dumbed down by this campaign. We are all losers. Thanks for joining us. And join me for my radio show Monday morning on News Radio 620 WTMJ from 8:30 until noon. Have a great week.